start with our introduction.
Okay.
Okay. We're actually on time for my schedule, and it looks like we're connecting.
Okay.
So, to introduce yourselves, go around the room one at a time, and I'm going to ask you, there's like 3 questions to think of. You know, about your cars currently. You own, lease, or use car share instead. You know, that's one thing. What types of cars that you currently drive, and the age of the one that you primarily drive. Okay? So, cars you own, lease, or car share, type of cars that you drive.
Would it be transportation or cars?
Huh?
I mean, I have scooters.
But no
I
cars.
have cars.
You have cars.
Yeah. So.
Well, you can throw in your other, primarily,
okay.
you know.
Okay.
So, that's true. We are kind of in a car centered right at the moment here. Okay, so, let's just start with Diane.
My name is Diane. I currently drive a Ford Fiesta. I think it's probably the first American car I've had for 30 years. And I bought it as an intermediary between, I used to have a Prius, and I had to replace it, and I was waiting for technology to catch up to what I wanted. So the Fiesta is my intermediary car. It's 4 years old.
Okay, great. How about you, Bradley?
And Brad works for me.
Brad.
But that's
great.
what it says on my driver's license, so that's what they have my name as.
Okay.
But I like Brad.
Great. You can
Either
cross
way,
out the L you
fine,
want if you
no.
want. Okay.
I have a 2009 Hyundai Elantra, which I bought brand new, and which is paid off as of 3 days ago.
Congratulations.
So I own it completely outright. But I primarily drive a 2015 Chevy Impala that I rented through Lyft. I drive for Lyft. So, because I rent that car through Lyft, I drive it all the time. That's my primary car. I actually haven't driven on my personal vehicle in like 3 weeks. So.
Okay, and Dave?
Well, I recently bought a used 2013 Chevy Volt. I kept my old vehicle, which is a Dodge Dakota pickup. I now have that on a per mile insurance plan, and use that for like if I'm doing weekend utility type stuff. But my transportation, I don't really use either of those vehicles very frequently. I mostly just commute by bicycle downtown.
Okay,
And then I have some Vespa scooters.
nice. Okay, Daryl?
I have a 2003 Ford Focus wagon. It's got 140,000 on it. I have 2 other cars that are not licensed right now, but both operate. I like working on cars, kind of tinkering with them, and those are sort of tinkering type cars, but I don't use them right now. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Christopher?
I-
Are you Chris or Christopher?
Christopher is fine, or Chris. I bought a used 2010 Chevrolet Cobalt about 5 years ago, paid off, and it's my primary driver. Used to drive it less, but it gets great gas mileage for a gasoline engine, and that was my primary factor for buying it. If they had a cheap EV back when I bought that car, I would have bought that instead, but it was a price for me to choose that, so that's
Okay.
what I drive.
All right. Phoenix?
My car is a 2006 Toyota Scion, and at some point we want to trade it in for an electric vehicle, but just waiting to make sure the technology is solid before we do it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Tom?
Tom, I have a 2014 Hyundai and get good mileage. That's why I bought it. My name is Steven. We have a 2014 Subaru Forester, which the last 3 Foresters we bought was off my wife's lease,
leases up, you have a chance to buy a car, so we buy it, you know, for less than book value, whatever. And then the 2014, it's every 3 years, so her lease was up on the 2014 and 2017, and I am a little nervous. I approached her about electric car, and she was like all over it.
Oh, yeah,
So then we bought a 2017 Chevrolet Bolt.
a Bolt,
Bolt.
okay.
Full electric.
Then you must have got it recently.
November.
November.
Yeah. And I also have a Yamaha motorcycle that's been grandfathered
And
into
is
our house.
that a buy or a lease on the Bolt?
I think it must be a buy
Okay,
because all three of us can drive it.
uh-huh,
And I think the company, she gets a stipend and that covers the payment.
and so then you have a Yamaha.
I have a motorcycle that's been, I've been grandfathered in it. If I ever get rid of it, I'll never get another one, so I gotta keep it running.
Okay, John,
Yes, I have a 4-day-old Hyundai Ioniq hybrid.
Ionic hybrid, okay. Okay,
Well, 4 days old to me,
brand new,
brand new.
okay. So, and that's the only car, buy or lease?
Buy. My wife has another car. It's also a hybrid, but this is the only vehicle I have.
And Peter,
I own a 2014 Audi. It has a diesel engine that was part of the Volkswagen problem. And it's a 3-liter supercharged diesel engine, so they only just recently made a settlement on those. I will get rid of it as soon as they make me whole.
uh-huh, waiting for money.
Well, I'm waiting for them to repair it. Yeah, I'm waiting basically
Fair,
for the opportune time
Yeah.
to sell it.
Okay, well, I'm Jane, and I have a 2012 Prius V, which is my second Prius. I've been waiting for, it's resolved the problems between how far I want to drive and how far I can drive, so still with a hybrid myself. So, are you ready there? Okay, great. So what I heard is that almost all of you own a car. They're all fairly 2000 era. They're not much older than that. I
I
bet
had
your older
2003.
cars.
2003.
2003
I think I got
was
the
the
oldie.
oldest, right?
Yeah.
And we have a few hybrids, and we have one EV amongst these, and we also have some trucks and other sorts of non-hybrid cars around as well. Okay, so you've got a variety of driving experiences behind you. We also have some bikers and some motorcycle riders. So, all of you, from my understanding, have visited the Go Forth electric vehicle showroom down on First and Taylor. And so kind of want to hear about what attracted you to that. How many read about it in the paper? Okay, one read about it. How about Facebook? Anybody see it on Facebook? How about a click ad? No? How about looking at electric cars online?
Does it count if my husband did that?
Maybe, okay. Hearing a story about it on TV or radio?
Yeah.
Okay, we have several. You also, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was about 6 of you. An email or a newsletter from Forth. A friend.
A friend.
A friend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're going to tell us about your friend. And how many of you just stumbled onto it? Okay, 3 stumbled onto it. 1 had a friend bring him in. The rest of you heard about it through these stories on TV or radio. Okay, so Stephen, what was you said it was a good story.
Yeah, so a friend of mine has a Tesla, and he kind of got me onto this, the Bolt, because the Everyman's Tesla was delayed, and well, the Bolt's coming out, so why don't you look into that? So after we got it, and we still only have a level 1 charger. We don't have a level 2, which is only like, it's the minimum. Okay, so we had gone to a trip to Salem and back and didn't have, you can't make up the charge on that long a trip on just a level 1 charger. It would take you almost all week to catch up. So I had to drop my wife off at the airport, and I thought, well, let's just go down by Electric Avenue. Okay. Oh, they have level 3 there. Let's just plug it in. And in the past, I told my friend that we went down the Electric Avenue, and he was so excited, and I said, well, we sat in the car and watched it charge. He said, you did what? So I'm trying to overachieve here, so I said, okay, well, plug it in, we'll go for a walk. Something productive. Well, then we heard that Merkley was going to give a speech in front of the World Trade Center in a few minutes. Well, we don't want to miss that. So my son said, I'll show you the showroom. So we walked around and we hung out in the showroom, looking at all the different chargers and talking to people there, electric bikes there, electric cars, and until Merkley showed up, then we went back. And I told him that, you know, I did something productive. I went to the showroom and I listened to Merkley's speech while our car was being charged.
Okay, so there we've got our first story about going to the showroom. So what I want to know from all of you is, what did you expect to learn from the showroom? So give me some thoughts. What did you expect to learn, Darryl?
Charging stations, where they are, how long they take, how far between. And I gathered some information there, but not as much as I had hoped. And the person working there, she's a great gal. She'd only been there a week though, and said a number of times, I don't know everything yet. She was doing her best and very good. She drove an electric car. So the Nissan Leaf is an amazing car. My main concern is charging stations, how long between, because I like doing road trips. I like doing long trips. And so that's something I need to learn more about.
Okay, what else did people
Can I interject just for a minute?
Don't give it an answer. We just want to hear what everybody wanted to
Okay.
learn.
I haven't answered your question.
Okay, so what did somebody else learn? What did you want to learn, John?
So I was at the point where I was looking for a new car, and I'd had a Saab that was over 10 years old, and my wife said it started to look like a beater, and so it was the time. And I also wanted to get something with much better mileage, and so I was open to electric and hybrid and plug-in hybrid, and so when I heard that this existed, I went there to just learn more about what the options were, what kind of cars had different features and so on, and what the differences were between them in the technology. And the woman who was there kept saying, well, I don't know everything, but she actually was able to answer all my questions, and so
You felt she did know.
I felt like she knew what I needed to learn from her. And, you know, it helped me make my decision in terms of, I wasn't ready for an all-electric car because of the mileage issue in terms of how long before you had to recharge. But at that point, I was very interested in the plug-in hybrid as an option.
Anybody else? Christopher, what did you expect to learn? Or want to learn? Need to learn?
I wanted to learn a lot because I was pretty ignorant before I got into the showroom, and the fact that that it was a grant-funded idea was really intriguing to me. That they just wanted to educate the public. So I came in there pretty open-minded, not expecting to get sold on anything, and I learned a lot more. I drove the Bolt on a test drive and loved it. It was amazing. And then later I went home and looked at the price. And I'm like, maybe not now. But it was like the woman that test drove it with me was great. She showed me the map thing about charging stations, and I felt more confident and ready to buy one when the time comes, like when maybe a used Bolt comes on the market in a few years. And she told me about a app that can tell you where you can rent e-bikes too, which I didn't expect to learn in there. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Anybody else got some story about what they, Peter maybe?
I went in to learn about charging stations for two reasons. One, I work for a green building program. We're revising our program this year, and we're going to add an elective measure around electric vehicle charging stations. And two, I'm gonna go ahead and put a charging station in my garage, even before I get an electric vehicle,
Okay.
before the tax credit expires.
Uh-huh. Brad,
Well, I actually originally saw it on one of the local morning shows, and they were talking about how not only did they cost less to run because you're just using electricity instead of gas, but that maintenance was actually a lot cheaper. So it was way cheaper to run an electric car. So that had me interested a little bit about it, although I knew that the range probably wasn't where I needed it to be. But then I got an email from Uber, because I drive for Uber as well, and they said they've got a whole initiative that they're supposed to be doing something with electric cars pretty soon and partnering with Ford. So I thought, well, I should go down and check it out. So I was down there one day and went in and just wanted to find out if they knew more about that program, and also just to learn more about the different electric vehicles and ranges and like plug-in hybrid. I didn't know there was I heard the term plug-in hybrid, had no idea what that was. I just assumed it was a hybrid. So, but I guess it's a little bit different than just a regular hybrid and then full electric. So, I learned a lot about the difference between the three types, and they couldn't give me any information. Actually, the first day I went there, they couldn't give me information about the Uber thing. But then the second day,
somebody did.
the lady that was there, she actually is the one working on that program. So
Good, so you got the information you need.
I got more information, still no final details, but.
Okay. Diane, what were you looking to learn?
I was really information gathering, and I was delighted that there was a place I could go and test drive without being sold a car, because I wasn't there yet. But I've been just waiting for the whole idea of electric vehicles to develop a little further, where the mileage was longer and maybe costs would come down. So I got a lot of information, and we even discussed, I've never leased a car before, I've always bought my own. And we discussed the leasing option may be a way to go, because technology is always changing. And if you lease for a few years and then there's the new technology that you want, well, maybe your lease is up and you can go for the newer technology. So, that was something I never would have considered if I hadn't gone down there.
So anybody else want to add to what they were hoping to learn or went to learn?
I was just curious to learn about battery lives.
Battery life.
Yeah, because we're looking at buying a used one, and so what is the degradation over time, and the cost of replacing and all that stuff.
So before we got started, with these sort of official groups starting, some of you were talking about having done some previous research. So what sort of things had you done before? Where were you looking before you had the opportunity to go to the showroom?
The internet.
The internet?
Yeah, and I went to Chevy website, and it didn't have as much information. I was disappointed in what they had to offer on their website. Didn't give me a lot.
Others?
Yeah, it's not very much.
No.
I drove a Nissan Leaf at a dealership in Beaverton, and had never driven one, didn't know anything about it. And when I got in and turned the key on, the dash lights seemed sort of dim, and the sales guy couldn't really explain why that was. And then there was also something that I didn't learn until I got downtown. There's a battery health indicator light on the Leaf, and the one at the dealership was in really bad shape. And I did not know that until I drove one that was in proper condition, and that they had no incentive of selling me. So that was huge to me. It's like, I'm glad when I get these little hunches, something doesn't seem right here, and the explanation I'm getting doesn't make sense, that then you go and like they say, to understand or fake money, you have to touch the real thing first, kind of like that. So anyways, I'm really glad that they were there so I could know what it's supposed to be like.
Dave, you wanted to say something, and
well,
then I'll come back to you,
Yeah,
John.
I was exploring electric cars through the internet, and Consumer Reports gave really positive reviews of the Chevy Volt. And then the Chevy Volt has various different forums, And, you know, there's just many, pretty much everybody's extremely satisfied with their purchase. And so that's what really swayed me in that. And then there haven't been any significant issues with battery life on the Volt, and then also, you know, just not really any significant mechanical issues
Yeah.
with it.
Well, John, where
Yeah.
else have you looked
Well,
for data?
I started out with the auto show here in town in January, and you know, I walked the floor looking for anything that was a high-end, high mileage hybrid and electric or plug-in electric. There's a lot of cars out there that say they're hybrid and get a whopping 30 miles per gallon or something, and it's like my Saab got 34 on the highway, and it's 10 years old. So there's a lot of cars that I dismiss because of that. My problem in the show when I was looking at them, I mean, the Bolt was a very attractive car, but it's a small car. And my wife has a small car, and we need one that can take more than, you know, basically more than a two-passenger car. And so that started narrowing down what I could get, because for some reason a lot of the electric cars are pretty small. And I've never driven a big car, but there's something in between.
I'd like to respond to John,
Sure.
having owned a Bolt. It's can carry 4 people comfortably. It's small on the outside, but big on the inside. My son is 6'2". He can sit in the back with no problem at all.
The issue for me was there's almost no covered luggage compartment.
That is true.
And
Yeah,
I was
that-
looking for a 5-seater, so.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
Tom, were you doing any research before?
I'm just on the internet.
Just on the internet? So how many people had been researching on the internet before they went to, okay. You had not. Had you been doing any EV research before? Peter?
Yeah, I've gone to a Tesla dealer on the East Coast several times
Yeah.
and driven a couple models.
So you've been actually driving?
And reading Motor Trend, Car and
Yeah.
Driver.
Yeah, okay. We are streaming, and so folks may ask questions in the audience there, and then when they come across, we will pose them. So far, none have come across, but I'm sort of inviting people in the audience to feel free to ask questions. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of what you got out of going to the showroom. Some of that you've already talked about. So there were exhibits, there were bicycles, scooters, there were cars. What do you remember most about your visit there? Yeah, John?
The map with the number of
Charging
charging
stations.
stations. And I looked on the web for what would it take to drive to Spokane, and didn't see many. And then at the showroom, they had apparently multiple layers of different kinds of charging stations, which made it a lot more than what I'd seen on the.
That's because it includes all the
web.
personal
No,
people's houses and stuff too.
No, it's what I saw was strictly the public ones.
Right, because they can take
But-
that layer on and off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's when I looked at it first. I was like, oh wow, there's tons of them.
No, but not the private ones, but they're different kinds of stations. So anyways, the network to me was much more in-depth and complex than I thought the state of the world was today.
what do other people remember? Oh, you remember that too?
Yeah, and I think, I would expect it on West Coast. I'm from California, and I didn't even know the Bolt was available in Oregon yet. I just, whenever I go to the Chevy website, it didn't seem like they were really promoting it that much, so that, well, must be it's not available here. Maybe they started in California, and I was concerned about charging stations too. I thought, yeah, California would have them. What about when you cross the state line? But I was impressed that there was a lot. And when I go shopping, I see charging stations all over. The library's got them. IKEA's got them. Everybody's got them.
I'd like to interject there. I have two apps on my phone. One's called ChargePoint, which comes with the Bolt. That app comes with a Bolt, so it tells you where those stations are. And there's PlugShare, which tells you all the other ones too. Both of them actually show both of them, and it'll tell you where it's located, which ones are available. Is it level 1, level 2? And people can put comments on it, like, yeah, I tried to charge and it didn't work, or works fine. I'll show you a picture of it, and I'll map where it's located. Because one of the biggest problems with electric cars is range anxiety. Can I get there? Can I get back? Will I be able to charge it when I get there? That kind of thing. So that app helps to, now when we go someplace further, we can go to the app and say, okay, that hotel doesn't have it, but this one over here does. Well, we'll put our money there. Because they are forethinking to have a charging station there where somebody else has not yet.
So what else do people read? Do you remember anything from your visit there, Daryl or Phoenix?
I didn't realize that they had electric scooters. Or electric bikes, and
I don't know that you can ride them there, but they had
no,
them.
yes, yeah. But I was also curious too, and I'm kind of asking a question with my answer, is at some point I'm going to be in a wheelchair. And do they have anything for wheelchair capabilities for scooters? And how about trucks? Do they have any electric trucks coming down the pipeline?
So those are things you still want to know about.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I think that I asked this question earlier, but none of you were leasing a car right now, is that correct? How many have leased a car in the past? One, okay. So everybody else has bought their cars, okay. And one of the questions that just came from the audience is, several of you had hybrids, right? I think it was about quarter or half.
I used to have a hybrid.
Okay. Do you think that a hybrid makes it, sort of less scary to go to an EV, or, more scary, some resistance? How do you think the hybrid affects your interest in an EV?
I think it encourages it because you've taken that first step, and this is like the next step. And then the next step's going to be self-driving cars.
Okay. Anybody else?
Owning a plug-in hybrid, with a Chevy Volt, and for urban driving, it's essentially an electric vehicle, and so my thinking and orientation is all about charging, and it got me to purchase and put in my own level 2 charging station at my house. So it was definitely like, I feel like I own more of an EV than I do a hybrid. So it helped me transition, definitely.
Anybody else about hybrid?
I ended up with the hybrid.
The hybrid when you...
Yes.
You have the 4-day-old, right?
Yeah. So I decided I was very interested in the plug-in hybrids, but the problem today, again, I needed a car with more capacity both inside and luggage, and the plug-in takes up either a seat or the storage room, and the companies have not designed vehicles that are from the ground up that say, okay, we have to have what used to be a trunk, so a covered storage space that you can get a couple of suitcases in and room for people. And so they take a vehicle that has either those things and eliminates one of them to put in the plug-in aspect.
John, you got to travel lighter.
It's not me, it's if you put 4 or 5 people in it.
Yeah.
Everybody has a
And when
bag.
we go to pick up family at the airport, my wife has a small hybrid. It's, you know, about the size of the Volt. It's but we can't take that car
Yeah.
and bring back, you know, family with suitcases.
Okay, so that's good input. Somebody wanted to, so if there's no other comments on the hybrid, I have a question about, I think several of you have talked about driving EVs, right? How many have test driven or an EV, or one person gets to say they own one, right? Almost everybody, okay. So, did anybody drive it for more than just a test drive, like an overnight? Yeah, obviously Stephen. So what was your experience? How important was it to be able to actually test drive a car?
For me, it was, I mean, you can read about it and go, oh, you know, what surprised me is in reading about them is their 0 to 60.
Yeah.
Not that I'm drag racing, but I always think of
It's the responsiveness.
yeah, I think of electric as, oh, it's going to be, because I think of at least original hybrids seem like, oh yeah, they go up to like 10 miles an hour electric, and then they need gas because they can't go any faster. But they actually, I mean, I've been researching the Teslas a lot because those are some really cool cars. I've actually seen the Model S's around town. Like, oh, I love that. I don't have, you know, $90,000, but that would be cool. But it's just different with all of those things. So it's just seeing that. Actually, I lost my point completely.
You like the driving of them.
Yeah, I did like to drive. I had to drive it because I had to see for myself that it was
Right.
really, you could really get that kind of acceleration. And it's, and one of the things I tried the low on the Bolt, which
yeah.
does
Regenerative
which
braking.
actually is really hard braking. Actually, you got to be ready for it if you let up off the gas. But
It kind of eliminates the California stop.
yeah, yeah.
Dave,
I just would emphasize that, like, that fourth showroom, when I found out that I had an opportunity to test drive a Bolt, that's what really got me. That's probably why I'm here right now. I just like, I've been waiting for this car to come out, and here it is, and I can take this out and, you know, have a visceral experience of what it's like to be in this car, and I don't have to be in a schmarmy, like, car sales environment. I can learn this car without any of that BS. And that, yeah, so that sold me entirely.
Tom, and you test drove a car?
I did.
What do you think of that?
Legroom up front, that's what I liked.
You like the legroom,
Yeah, it was hard to find that in a car.
and you found
That
it.
Bolt had really good legroom.
That's one of the things you're looking for, is how it
That's,
feels.
I don't carry people around, so I was looking for me,
Uh-huh.
for comfort for me.
I've been interested in electric cars for a number of years, and I sat in some of the early vehicles and was really disappointed by just the basics of how the car was a car. You know, the seat was uncomfortable, getting in and out was awkward. The things that just you kind of assume when you're looking for a car that you would look for if you weren't considering the powertrain. And I've been impressed in the cars I test drove and the research is how much that has improved for this category in the last few years.
Christopher, how about you?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, I'm just, you test drove a car.
Test drive.
I guess maybe we should move on to, do you have anything you still need to know about the cars after test driving it?
I did remember I had a thought on
Yeah.
the test drive experience,
Okay.
and when Dave was sharing his opinion about doing a test drive without the, skeezy sales guy there trying to push you. I mean, I went into it as a young person, and I know they're not the cheapest cars you can buy on the road, and I know if I went to a salesperson, he'd have stereotypes about someone my age that maybe isn't convinced about buying an EV car. So when I drove the EV with fourth, and the woman was just educational. I felt like I got a lot out of it. I mean, she was not holding anything back. She answered all my questions. There was never any pressure. And the Bolt was, we took off from the showroom and we were driving down First, and I could hear people talking on the sidewalk, and we were going like 30. And there was no engine noise. There was no like tire noise. It was so quiet. It was like shocking. And that was the first time I'd ever experienced that, so it was kind of cool. And the car was quiet too, just starting it up. So that was my, I definitely will always drive a test drive a car going forward.
Contrary to John, my experience driving the Bolt was, it felt very spacious to me. It felt roomy, but then I've always had small compact cars, and I felt like I was driving an SUV. You sit up higher in it. It didn't feel like just a small car. I was really
Again, I
impressed
wasn't
with the seat.
referring to the passenger size other than the back,
Yeah,
5 versus
yeah.
4.
Yeah, and that isn't a consideration for me.
Yeah.
Is if I can get a couple people back there, 2 tops is fine. for
The,
me.
the back compartment, the hatchback, if you will, does have a false bottom that you can pull out, and you can get some decent sized luggage in there, plus stacked on top.
So,
you-
what sort of questions do you still have even after having test driven? What sort of questions remain? I mean, you had good experiences, it sounds like. What are you still asking? Peter?
Well,
Oh, okay, I'll
Sorry.
come back to that.
I don't have a lot of questions, other than how can I get them much cheaper? Because in looking at how much value those cars lose as soon as you drive them off the lot, it's actually according to Kelly Blue Book and what's the other one? There's can't think of it right now, but they Edmunds, yeah. The Bolt is going to lose like $20,000 in value as soon as you drive it off the lot,
Really?
and that's doesn't make up for. I mean, the $7,500 tax credit, if you get it, doesn't make up for that at all. So
That's how you get it cheaper.
yeah, right. But that's again, you don't actually get it cheaper because you have to pay the money before you can get the tax credit.
Correct.
So, which is always,
I
tax
think
credits don't really.
that's, there's, I saw like an incredible opportunity to get an affordable car because what you're describing is exactly true. And I paid $14,000 for my very newish $40,000 Volt.
Use that.
And so, because people do have apprehension about the batteries, I think.
Yeah, well, and I thought about getting a used one too, because just like you said, you get a better deal, but then you don't get the tax credit. But of course, you're getting cheaper, so I don't know.
So
I
are
figured
there
out-
any questions that you still have, Peter? Do you still have any questions after having test driven that you?
No, I'm sold on the car. I mean,
Okay.
my next step is to get an electrician to my house, and hopefully I've got the capacity in my electrical panel to get an 80 amp level 2 charger. I want to do that before the tax credit expires, and then get the car as soon as I get rid of my current car.
You have questions still?
Well, one of the concerns that I have and I see for other people who walk is the car is so quiet that pedestrians are going to have to be more aware that they're not going to hear the motor running and all these other things.
The hybrid's like that though too. I remember when I first got my hybrid years ago, I pulled up to a couple of women were on the corner talking, and I needed directions, and they just jumped. They said we didn't hear you coming, and that was the first. I had the original Toyota or the Prius, and so that was 2001, and they were totally silent.
So if you were to get an EV, where would you tend to charge? At home or at work? Home, everybody raise their hand. How many at work? None? One,
If they had it.
if they have it
Yeah.
at work. The rest of you would charge at home. So you're leading the way there. And so you've got an EV versus a hybrid. What do you think's gonna get you more to the EV from the hybrid? What's gonna be those of you who are thinking, like Peter, that you're gonna go there, what is it that's taking you, yes, I'm gonna go for the EV?
It's performance,
Performance,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
makes you big smile.
Right.
How about Bradley?
I guess the only thing that stops me is, like I said, I drive for Lyft, and so the 100-mile range of every car except for the Bolt, and of course Tesla, but that's just, out of range, is only 100 miles, and I do easily 100 miles a day, so probably not going to really work for me. So I've sort of been,
So you're waiting for range.
I'm waiting for more range, really.
How about you, Dave?
So I just, I'm surprised that there aren't more public charging stations right now. Like, I work downtown, and I do drive sometimes to work, and I can't, I use a private lot if I need to have my car at work all day. And the private lots don't have electric charging. There's no, and that I think is something that needs to be sort of governmentally pushed. There is like these private lots, they need to say.
So even though you mainly charge at home, you might, having it at work would be a plus.
Well, if I were purely driving an EV, that I would make that decision to purchase an EV if there was more public and private charging. And then I also have an issue with like the blinks and charge points. They charge a lot of money for the charging right now, and I'm just like there isn't even comparable to gas, and I'm surprised by that. I think that's not fair, and it hampers the development of people choosing EVs.
Okay.
You know,
Add something, Daryl?
Yeah, I probably would have gone with an EV if my income was such as I could afford 2 cars and insure them and maintain them and such. Because most of the time I do drive about 30, 40 miles a day. So the EV would certainly work. But I love my camping trips. I love my road trips. So that would mean I'd have to have 2 cars. And that's kind of expensive. And so if I was the kind of person that could afford 2 cars, I would probably have an EV right now.
Any other thoughts about what will take you past the hybrid into the EV?
I still need more information about, like you mentioned, the cost of charging.
Cost of charging.
Yeah, I don't really have much information in that area yet. You
So
know,
they
do
had
all
the
these
map,
little
they had the
they have
map, but they didn't tell you how much.
Yeah, but what would be the cost of charges? And
Well,
does
I
everybody
I did get
charge?
that, I did ask that question there and did hear an answer that satisfied me. And I will say, I'm fortunate enough that between my wife and I, we do have 2 cars.
Yeah.
And that I will strongly urge her to, when she trades in her current car, it'll be a few years, that it be electric, because then we'd have one strictly
Right.
for urban environment, and the car I just bought that we can take trips in.
So I want to hear from Tom and Stephen a little bit. And I can't quite see you sometimes, Tom, so I don't want to ignore you. I'm curious from Stephen, what pushed you over to actually go for the Bolt? What was it that really tipped the equation?
Well, after we got the Bolt, I told my wife, besides being married to you, having our son, living in Oregon, this is one of the top 5. It's totally green.
Yeah.
Never have to go to the gas station. No oil changes, no filter changes. Like, and she works in the Portland area. She's in sales, and she does some traveling around Portland. Occasionally goes maybe to Salem and back. But typically, it's fully charged by the next morning, even level 1. And we have had some range anxiety, but it's like, it's got an onboard computer that tells you how many miles you got left. You can do the plan. You can go to your app and say, okay, is there a charging station near here that we can get a charge? And as far as the cost, there's a charging station at a Chevron station about 2 miles from our house, level 2, and I think we got 25 miles of range for like $1.25. and they're making money on that. They're making money at that. So it's still cheaper than gas. But I realize there are some that are more expensive. And the day I was down at Electric Avenue, there was a guy there with a clipboard walking around. And before, you had to pay for parking, 2-hour limit, and you could charge as long as that 2 hours was valid. And as of now, they've changed it. It's going to cost you $5 to charge, but you don't have to pay parking. And as long as your car is being charged, and the parking guy can go up there and say, oh, it's got 80%, he's still charging, or if it's 100%, then you'll get a ticket. So it's technically $3 to charge, unlimited until it's fully charged.
Tom, what would put you past hybrid into an EV?
Just mileage, that's what I'm after.
You want mileage?
Yeah,
Range.
I wanna be able
What sort
to
of
get,
mileage are you looking for?
well, probably up around 350 or so. I drive an awful lot.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of long trips. And I just like to have the comfort of knowing I can get down there and back. Or get down there and then charge up while I'm there and back up. And trying to get down like the California border, you can't do it. You gotta stop and charge. So, that's my problem with them right now.
Peter, did you want to say anything? No, you're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
On this topic,
On this topic, right. So about the showcase, kind of my last couple of questions about the showroom here. Do you think that the physical location is better than just having online resources?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, for sure.
And what would be the one thing that makes it better for each of you? If you could just say,
Not
because
having
of
it
this.
downtown.
You haven't been down, not driving down. Would be better not downtown.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's nice to talk to a real live person.
Real life people.
Yeah,
Get all your questions answered.
Questions answered.
I think most folks would buy a gasoline car without test driving it and going to a showroom and seeing it in real life and looking at its lines or sitting in it. So why would you do that
This
with
is sitting in it, the test drive. Questions, real people. Okay. And the other one here that they asked about the showcase. Is there anything else that you wish the showcase had that was missing? You just said east side rather than west side, apparently.
It would be nice if, I saw electric bikes there, and I have ridden electric bikes. It'd be nice if they had more, you could test drive electric bike.
Yeah.
Right
Right there.
And that would be because for somebody that has a short commute, I don't know, pick your miles, like 10, 15 miles. If it's safe, you can do it with an electric bike, and you wouldn't have to have an electric car if you're just going to go back and forth to work.
Right.
It's
Okay.
cheaper than a car.
And are there viable electric motorcycles now, or electric
There are,
scooters?
yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about that, but.
There's
that
some.
would
There's
be-
one scooter there, so, yeah. So electric bikes, how many of you are interested in electric bikes?
I would be.
Oh, I
Okay,
would be.
a lot of
yeah.
interest in electric bikes too, okay. Oh boy, we got more questions coming.
Good deal.
Each driver. Okay, I should have asked this up front, I guess, but what's the average amount of miles that you drive each day? Peter,
oh, you know what, I can just tell you yearly about 10,000 miles.
okay, you're 10,000 a year.
I'm retired now, so I don't commute in on a daily basis. And so I have small driving
Right,
during
so
an
it's-
average day, and then it's a question of what trips we take.
So less than 10,000 a year? Yeah.
10 to 12,000.
10 to 12. Tom,
Oh, probably around 15 to 20
a day,
a year.
a year, 15 to 20,000, okay. Peter,
Lucky if I get 6 in a year, 6,000.
6,000, okay.
10 to 12,000.
10 to 12,
About 20 miles a day.
20 miles a day.
But then I use a company truck. I drive to our business and then use a company truck to
Oh,
go
so you
various
drive
places.
much more a day. long.
Yeah.
And Dave,
I mostly bike to work, so I don't know, maybe 4,000 a
Yeah.
year.
okay. Brad, you're a Lyft driver. You
100
drive-
to 200 miles a day.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, I've done over 3,000 miles in the last month, so.
Yeah, you're you're out there. Diane?
Maybe 30 miles a day. I'm retired also, probably 6,000 a year. So mostly local driving.
Okay. And let's see. So here's a question directly from Fourth. Okay, I haven't read it. Oh, so I got one in the orders here. So, would a point of purchase rebate at the time of purchase in Oregon, say of $2,500, influence you to buy a hybrid or an EV?
Yes.
Is this on top of tax
The top
credits?
of the federal, yeah.
Sure, it always helps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But how much would it make a difference? I mean,
Not a bit.
Marginal.
So, we just talking new vehicles then? New?
yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any difference to me at
No.
all.
Okay, it would be nice, but it wouldn't make a difference.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Um,
It might make a difference for me.
Might make a difference for you. Okay.
It would certainly help, for sure.
So as we've talked, you've all done a lot of research online, and it didn't actually answer all your questions, you know. But Fourth answered a lot of your questions. In fact, when I asked you if you had many questions left, there's only a few questions left. So would you recommend this to your friends? Would you tell people to go to this?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
How many have already recommended it? Everybody's already recommended it to their friends. Okay, so you better be busy out there. Okay, so they're gonna be very busy. There's another question that came up from the audience. Are there car manufacturers that you think have good advertising about EVs?
I'm not seeing anything I'm impressed with at
Yeah.
all.
Tesla doesn't need to advertise.
Yeah.
So, you know, and they don't.
Uh-huh.
No.
I haven't seen any Chevy Bolt ads on TV.
Yeah.
No.
So basically,
It's all
you're not
trucks.
seeing any advertising.
No, it's
for
the
the
only,
EV.
actually, the only advertising I saw for the Chevy Bolt was during the car show, they kept talking about it when they were advertising the car show about the Bolts, and they were coming to Oregon. But that's all I ever heard.
Having done a lot of research and buying a car online, I now get lots of ads on my computer.
Oh, you bought
So,
online.
yeah, so I've seen lots of the ads, so I know they're out there.
So you know they're out there, but have you seen any that you thought were informative, useful, or anything?
No, I mean, nothing that really stuck with me, and nothing that motivated me one way or the other.
Yeah, I remember the Nissan Leaf seemed to do a pretty good job promoting. Nissan did a good job promoting that vehicle when they were first coming out. But I mean, the Chevy Volt, not so much. The Bolt is like zero. Tesla. There's like Honda. The Honda Fit has an EV. I just learned the other day. I had no idea that. Or the Kia Soul is EV. Not many people know that. I think.
That's
I will say, having gone to the car show, the car companies were not promoting electric and the better hybrids.
What were they promoting?
Big muscle cars.
Big
Yeah,
muscle
and
cars.
the same thing
SUVs
with
probably.
with the cars on television. It's those kinds of cars that they advertise.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
Absolutely.
just a select
And,
audience.
and given that people who are interested in electric cars and the hybrid like I got, which gets over 50 miles per gallon, is all that stuff is just goes over me. I had to dig to find the vehicles that were of interest to me, and I go and approach some of the car companies, and the salespeople there, again, and this is at the auto show, so all the competitors are there, they'd kind of just shrug when you asked about electric or hybrid, and they clearly were not interested or motivated. So I think that that says what they think the consumers want to buy, but it's not advertising, but it's educating their salespeople about their products is probably another issue.
So is there anything that the showroom could do to help improve the missing information that you're not getting?
I think it'd be nicer if they talked more about some of the anxieties that were even brought up in this room about like maintenance of the battery.
Maintenance of the battery.
Yeah, details on charging costs in the showroom, so it's not like we're asking them and they have to research it or we have to go home and research it. When I got finished with my test drive, the woman, some people walked up to the car and were like, "Oh my, what is this? We saw it look great," and she just started talking to them, and she said that if you try to equate it, it was about 99 cents a gallon to charge a car, if you want to think of it in oil terms. So I thought that was just a good metric to have and share with people so they know.
Again, when I was looking for a car, it would have been nice to have a database of here are the various EV cars and the specs for the car, so that it's not just, you know, what the drivetrain is, but, you know, the various capacities and weights and prices.
Did anybody do the thing in the showroom that comes up with cars that make sense for you?
I don't remember.
Oh, you're talking about
One of the exhibits.
it wasn't actually working
Oh, it wasn't working.
when I was
Okay.
there.
And I don't
And I
remember
tried to do it online,
seeing
it
it, so
didn't
my
work
guess
online.
is it wasn't active when I was there.
Okay.
But that's I was thinking the same thing. Is it'd be great if they had. These are the hybrids available. These are the plug-ins available. These are the EV. I mean, just as a so you know where to start looking. I mean, as far as I knew, until I started looking, the only electric cars were the Leaf and the Bolt. Those are the only, and I hadn't even heard of Tesla, and then I heard of Tesla, and then I heard of lots of other cars, like you said, the Kia Soul I saw is electric now, and something else, but you never see anything, so it'd be nice to have. I tried looking online, just electric car,
Yeah.
and even on the auto sites that are supposed to pick up all that stuff, it's like if you put in electric, it gives you everything, hybrid,
Right,
plug-in,
right,
and electric,
yeah,
so you can't
yeah.
just narrow it
Hard
down.
to sort it out.
Yeah, it would be great if the showroom actually had that sort of
Okay.
thing for you,
Okay.
to at least have the info.
Okay, any more questions? Zach? Oh, good. Thank you, Zach. Got one more question before we go to Arla. Okay, yes, some of you mentioned that you do road trips, like Daryl was talking about. How many of you take, and you talked about taking trips, how many of you, let's see, how many of you would take a trip once a month where you'd need the luggage or the capacity to, once a month? One,
Or
Probably.
at
one,
least once.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. How
And-
many
And
would-
by the way, that includes just trips to the airport,
I
because,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah, where you need the capacity.
Right.
How many of you would do that once a year?
Yeah, at least.
More than once a year for those of you?
More than once a year.
More than once a year.
Maybe.
Now, how often?
Maybe every 6 months.
Twice, 2 or 3 times a
At
year?
least once. We like to go to wine country.
Uh-huh. Okay. So pretty much everybody, most of you would do it once a month. And Tom, you were in the once a month, right?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
do more than that.
More than
so-
month, more than that, yeah, okay.
But I only carry luggage for me, one bag, so it can sit in the back seat. I don't care about a
So it's
compartment.
not the volume for you?
Not for me.
Yeah, okay,
I mean, I want the front seat comfortable where I'm at.
right.
I don't care about the rest of the car.
Okay.
Doesn't interest me.
So in terms of having the volume for luggage and extra passengers and stuff, there's about 7 of you, and the rest of you less often a year. Okay, but still, at least once or twice a year, you're doing it, okay. Okay, good. And how many of you actually need that to be, like, not just for people, but, or not just for travel, but for actually camping and that sort of thing? 1, 2,
Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
you 2, 4?
Yeah, I'd go
5,
camping too.
yeah. Okay, so and then you're having no charger at that end, most likely. Okay. So let's talk how you might get closer to owning or leasing even an EV. So how many of you consider yourself really new to EVs? Like this is like, you've only been investigating it pretty recently. 1, 2,
I'm very new.
3. And the rest of you consider yourself more intermediate. You've been looking for a while, thinking about.
What's
How-
recently? I mean,
Well,
3
like-
months?
Yeah, like say the last 3 months you've been thinking about it, pretty new to the market. Yeah, you follow
No,
it?
no, I've been looking at it
Yeah, it's
before
car
3
and
months.
driver and,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So the rest of you have been thinking about this for a while, okay. So what are the features that you really want in your next car? Whether it's EV or hybrid or what is it you really want?
I
Yeah.
need better mileage.
Good mileage.
Yeah, I'm only
Yeah,
getting about
mileage.
22, which is
And you want
not doable for
Really
me.
good mileage. Tom,
Mileage,
mileage,
Yeah,
that's most
that's-
important,
yeah, I
okay?
gotta be able to get further
And you
than
need
two hundred and 38 miles, that's not
And you need
far
room
enough.
for you, I know.
And room for me.
Okay. Peter, what about you?
Range, performance, and luxury interior.
Okay. Okay, others?
Mine is range and actually I have to hold 4 other passengers, which the Bolt actually does, and it's okay if they're squished a little bit, because as long as they can actually hold, because I have to be able to take, but I actually need room for luggage as well, because a lot of airport trips. But I did see that false bottom, and it looks like the Bolt would actually, and I know they actually use the Bolt for a lift in like San Diego or something, so.
Okay, so you need room for luggage.
I need luggage and,
You
yeah.
need luxury interior. What sort of things are you looking at? I know you
I
just bought a car.
Well, I was just, you get down to the little things,
Yeah.
right, and one was this storage, covered storage, because just like the Prius and the Ioniq that I ended up buying are hatchbacks, but my wife insists that you have covered storage if you're gonna take a trip, so people can't look in and see how many suitcases or what you have in there. And the Prius didn't have it. And the other thing is our son has a Prius, and we were traveling the back seat with him when it was really hot, and they didn't have back vents. I mean, these are little things normally, but, we're sweating and he's freezing, and you say, what does it take
So
to
there's
get
that
the
temperature control that has to be managed. Okay, some other things? Anybody else? Some things, yeah. Dave?
For an EV, I want some sort of security in terms of the longevity of the car. It's like a big investment, more so than a regular, ICE.
But what is the
vehicle.
longevity you're looking for?
For the battery,
okay.
there were issues with the quality of the batteries with the Nissan Leaf when it first came out, and so the Chevy Volt has a 100,000 mile sort of battery powertrain warranty on it, and that's
That's a big plus.
big
Yeah, the
level of
warranty.
security. I mean, there's still quiet ride, but I think that's really important if I were to make a big investment like that.
Yeah, and Phoenix?
I know Elon Musk is coming out with the new Tesla battery, and I don't know if that's going to be integrated into the car, which will greatly increase mileage. So it would be interesting to have that. And I just need GPS. I get lost.
Okay, GPS, okay. How many of you have a price point that you're looking for when you're thinking about the next car you're gonna have?
Yeah.
Yeah? And what is that? Just round numbers, quick, sorta,
I'd have to get a used one for probably 12,000 or less.
okay? Others?
That'd be
Used
about
for about
right.
the same.
That's about right,
Yeah.
okay?
20 maybe.
20
max.
maybe. Anybody else?
25, under
20,
30 for
under
sure.
30.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, under 30 for a new one.
okay, okay. Great, let's see. So what is the most you would pay for an EV?
If it guaranteed its battery for the life of the car, I would pay a lot more than I would if it
Guarantee
didn't.
it for the life of the car.
By the way, on my Ioniq Hybrid, they do have a lifetime guarantee on the battery in that car. It's the only one, I believe, that
Is
doesn't.
that why you got that one?
No,
Not
but,
entirely.
but it was reassuring.
Okay. So is there a, yeah, I might go, this number that we were just talking about, 20, 12, under 30, is there any ceiling that you'd be,
Well, are we
with
talking?
some
Around 30,
around 30?
yeah.
But you said you'd pay more if it had that guarantee.
Yeah, or like the Teslas have beautiful interiors, usually the
Yeah.
earlier models. So I would expect I'd have to pay more for that. But for like a everyman car, like a Bolt, I wouldn't I wouldn't pay more than $40,000 for a new car,
Yeah.
just with normal features inside.
And you'd expect the battery.
I'd hope. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a big factor for me.
Anything
Maintenance.
else? Anybody else contribute to that thought? Either way, up, down?
I guess mine was, I built a Bolt online with all the bells and whistles, and it's like 40,000 or something. And if I could afford it, I would probably pay it,
Okay.
but I can't afford it. So
So if you can't afford it, you can't afford it.
right. So my upper limit is where I can afford, so,
Which is not
which
that
is
high.
Not that high.
Well, what about leasing?
What about leasing? Yeah, that is the next question.
And that's a possibility I haven't actually considered, except for one of the things that one of the ladies down at the Fourth, she knew all the lease prices. Oh, you can lease that for $229. You can lease that for $329. I mean, she had it all down. But it's not something I'd considered before, but maybe it would be. I'm kind of waiting to see what they come up with for the program for Uber drivers,
Uh-huh.
because I think it's actually probably going to be offered in two ways. One is through their leasing company, through Uber's leasing company, and if I can get one that way, I will probably do it that way, because I think it's worth it.
So, of all the things you're looking for, do you think that EVs have those features that you're looking for?
They're
Again,
on the cusp.
for,
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
They're
About-
on the cusp. It seems
on the
like
cusp.
they're
They don't
going
quite-
in that direction, yeah.
I-
It's at the beginning of those,
And in
of
particular,
bringing forth everything
Okay.
that we're asking for.
okay,
And trying to keep the price down, but,
for,
you're not getting everything.
right,
I will say, for a vehicle that you only need to drive, in the greater Portland metro or down to Salem or something, I think they're there.
okay.
So,
You think they're there?
I think they're there. I mean, for what I need, I don't need series radio stations. I don't need a lot of the bells and whistles. I don't need Wi-Fi in my car. So
They're there for me too.
They're there for you?
I think with the range shortcomings that some of them have, I adapt and change my behavior like I would if I were driving a gasoline car. This planet.
Not there for me yet, because of my long distance trips.
Because you're trips.
It would be great for local.
Yeah, same for you, Tom.
Yeah, that'd be about the same. They
Right.
gotta get better mileage, that's my big thing with
Other
it.
distance,
Yeah, better distance.
yeah. Peter?
I think Diane said that they don't have everything or something to that effect. And that's very true for the Tesla, because there is so much money invested in the battery technology and the transmission. The interiors are not what you will get if you were buying a similar priced luxury car. But, oh yeah, no, the interiors are nice, but they're not what you would get with another luxury brand at the same price. But the environmental impact and, the environmental good that it does outweighs the interior.
How important to you, how many find the environmental benefit an important component?
It's gotta be number one.
One.
Yeah.
Every single one of you?
Yeah.
That's me.
Absolutely.
That's me.
Okay.
There's a big difference driving a bumper-to-bumper traffic in a gas car and an electric car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All those fumes coming out,
Yeah.
and then electric car is
just sitting there.
just sitting there.
And that's one thing I think Fourth Mobility should probably have in their showroom is the message that with the right tilt and orientation on your roof, 4 to 6 solar PV panels will basically power your car for the year. And in Oregon, we have some of the greatest local and state tax credits for solar PV. So our state gets a rating of an A as far as, A, B, C, D, E. And that's a message that I think, Fourth Mobility could promote.
yeah, and
I'm glad you brought that up, because recently somebody came to my house and they were selling, their company. He represented a company that did solar panels. He looked at my usage and he said, well, we can't offer it to you yet because my usage is so low. So I mentioned that I was considering an electric vehicle. He said, when you do that, call me back.
So Diane, the reason he said we can't offer it to you is because they're not selling the panels, they're leasing them. And they are basically getting the renewable energy credit, and you don't want that. You just want to go out and buy them yourself. That's why they said we can't offer it to you. Of course,
Yeah,
you
'cause
could buy
it was-
anything you want. This is America.
Yeah.
But he's offering a lease that benefits his company more than you.
and they're coming out with solar roofs, so You don't need solar panels.
So, so do you think that right now EVs are a good investment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're an okay investment.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not great because of the price point is
If they
higher.
could- If they actually held
But-
their value better, they would be a good investment.
But
Okay.
they're also it is a higher price point. You do have some savings, and so it works out okay, but it's,
So before I got to Stevens, Tom agreed with John. I just wanted to touch base of T
Yeah.
there and then get to Stephen. You agree
I agree with
that
it.
they're not quite there?
They're not quite there.
Okay, Stephen.
So recently, last month or two, the state of Washington bought 107 Bolts
Yep.
and doubled their electric car fleet. And their representative said the electric car will save you $5,000 a year on maintenance and gas. 5,000 a year. That's a lot.
That's a good point.
That makes up your,
yeah,
$35,000.
and by the way, I think you're right. The maintenance issue is one that isn't
Yes.
highlighted properly. And I know it exists, but when I was doing my research, I didn't get good quantification of that difference. And so you're looking at just the power, or the
Right.
gasoline versus electrical.
Right, but there's other factors.
But
that
there are other
aren't being
factors, and that
emphasized.
isn't really,
That's a big
yeah.
number.
One of the biggest suppliers of auto parts is Bosch. They see the future. Their auto parts sales are going down. Now they're investing in electric bikes, drivetrain and batteries for electric bikes.
So, yeah.
You know,
Don, you-
I quickly, just a knee-jerk reaction when you said, are electric cars a good investment, or do you think they're a good investment? That was kind of a loaded question, and I bit at it and said, yeah. Only because emotionally, I like the environmental bent. There's no car that appreciates, except for the rare Ducati and certain rare cars. So no, they're not an investment, but I bid on the emotional angle.
An
Thank you.
investment into the future, I think, is the
Right.
way I read it.
Yeah.
Investment against climate change.
Yeah.
So, if you got an EV, you'd want to pop, you all said you want to charge at home, so you get a charger. So, do you know how you'd get a charger? What do you think is the
Well,
way you'd get a charger?
what I heard at the
The showroom.
The showroom.
Showroom, yes, was that in the level one, you just plug it into the regular wall socket, and it takes, in 12 hours, it would recharge. That would work for me, because I have a plug right next to my car.
Okay.
Well, it has to be at least 15 amps and preferably 20. And you'll get about, okay, on the Bolt, you have two choices. 8 amp charge or 12 amp charge. 8 amp gives you 2.5 miles per hour of charge, and the 12 amp gives you 3.5 miles per hour of charge.
For level one.
Level one, yes.
So, I mean, if you got an EV, would you just kind of say, well, I'm gonna plug it in? Would you get a charger? Would you get it from the automaker? Would you get it from a charge company? How do you think you'd handle that?
I would get one. I don't know where it would come from.
But you
I
get-
would want to get the level 2 charger.
Yeah.
I know it
Yeah.
has to be installed by an electrician.
But,
My brother's an electrician, though, so
Dave,
not worried about that.
Dave,
I'm a homeowner. I bought a used Volt. I did level 110 volt charging for about 6 months, and I just went online and bought a level 2 charger, and went down to Portland and got a permit and put it in my driveway, and got it, did the work myself and got it approved, and
Okay.
got the tax credit. It was great.
so,
No big deal.
okay, no big deal. You could do it yourself. Would you do it yourself?
Oh, no, hire an
No.
electrician.
Hire an electrician, okay. How many people would go to get it through the purchase, the automaker where they got their car?
Probably.
Probably,
Possibly.
Well, I have an issue with that a little
Yeah,
bit.
tell me
Well, first of all, the Bolt comes with level one. It's standard equipment. It comes with it. You don't have to buy it. It comes with the car. And I was in there getting some floor mats at the Chevrolet dealer, and they were putting in a level 2 in the showroom to show the people how it works and stuff like that. And I thought, well, that's kind of nice. the guy said it was installed and says, well, this doesn't make sense to me. If you buy a charger online and or have somebody else put it in, and there's an issue with the charger and it hurts your car, it's not covered under warranty. And I thought, that doesn't make any sense, because what if I'm out in Podunk City and have a charger and it's not their charger, put in by their electrician, and I have an issue with my car, they're not gonna cover that? That seemed a little weird.
So maybe it wasn't accurate,
I
or maybe it was.
I don't know.
Okay.
Just sounds
So
like a
how would
scare
you, how would
tactic,
you go
doesn't it?
about researching this? I mean, because if, how would you go about researching where to get a charger?
Online.
Everything else.
Online.
Well, that was one of the greatest helps of Fourth Mobility, is that the representative there said these are some of the leading charger manufacturers. Now, I told you I didn't research EVs online, but I have researched EV charging stations online, and I started with those two, I think, maybe three manufacturers that were represented in the showroom. They tell me those are the leading ones. I went and looked them up online.
Okay,
I would definitely go with what the manufacturer says.
of the car.
Yeah, the manufacturer of the car, I'd go with what they recommend for a charger.
Okay. Okay, so, here's another one. If you were given a free electric vehicle for 1 year, across all the ones that you've heard of, which model would you choose?
Wait,
Okay,
price unlimited?
apparently,
It's given to you.
Number 1 Tesla, number 2 Bolt.
okay,
I would go with a Model X.
Model X,
I'd probably a Bolt.
I think I tried the Bolt.
okay?
I would get a Tesla or electric motorcycle.
Tesla sounds nice, but I would probably get a Bolt, because
Yeah,
I'm about the same. Tesla sounds good, but Bolt's where I'd go.
Since I already have a Bolt, I'd take the Tesla.
yeah. John,
It'd probably be a Tesla, but I wouldn't be disappointed to get a Bolt.
you wouldn't have the luggage though, John.
No, but this is a
This is
third
free
car.
Don't need
Here.
that.
Well, I'd get the Tesla Model S, but the real difference is, the finer details, and I'd get the P100D.
Oh,
100.
going with
So
the big
100
thing.
is the largest battery
Right.
they make. The that's the model I'd get.
Okay,
That's the tricked out one. That
That's
goes
the
in ludicrous mode.
$160,000.
That's the one that can beat
ridiculous
Lamborghinis.
2.9
okay,
seconds.
how many people own 2 vehicles? Okay, so for everybody who owns 2 vehicles, how many of you have considered the EV for daily use?
Absolutely.
That's what you did,
Yes, we did, yeah.
yeah,
That's what I do.
that's what you did. You haven't done that yet,
I haven't
Daryl.
done it yet. I mean, I've got 2 vehicles, but I can't afford to operate.
John went with the hybrid.
Yeah, but as I said, if we had a bigger car in addition, then I would have gotten probably the Bolt.
So, for the online research you've done, what sites have you found useful?
The actual car dealer sites, I'm not car dealer, the car manufacturer sites are really pretty good, and they're loaded with information. The big problem is there isn't a good site that lines up the specifications across vehicles well.
And is everybody convinced of that there's no site that has,
Actually, I can't give you the site's name, and I don't know if it has the vehicle information lined up how you want to see it, but there is a really good website that I found for electric vehicles. It's not a manufacturer's website, it's probably a nonprofit, and I wish I could remember the name of it. So I'm
Okay.
not doing you any good. with
no,
the
I'm
name.
just trying to find out, so you have found one, okay? Anybody, where else, have you started? How have you started when you try and search? What is it you put in there?
Electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles,
Electric hybrid.
electric hybrid,
Just electric.
electric
Electric
vehicles,
cars.
not just electric.
Electric vehicle.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Electric cars.
Electric cars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
electric vehicle, yeah.
so that's primarily been your, now, how many of you would consider a lease?
I
I
would.
would
You
consider
would
lease.
consider a
Yeah.
lease.
Yeah, I
Definitely would.
Consider one.
How many consider used versus new?
Used.
I would consider it.
Okay, so we've got about a little over half would go with used over new. But only about 4 or 5 of you, I think, raised your hands for I guess that's almost half at 55. 4, I think, raised their hand for a possible lease. So what is it about the lease that's unappealing to people?
I've never thought a lease was a good deal.
Okay.
Partially because they always have mileage limits, and I always exceed those. I will exceed those limits no matter. Even before I became a Lyft driver, I exceeded those limits because I travel a lot. So.
Okay.
Yeah, the amount of money you put down is just gone, so that might not work, pencil out so good.
I hate monthly payments.
Hate monthly.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you consider a lease?
Yeah, but probably not. I travel too much for,
Too many miles.
yeah,
Too many limitations on the lease.
yeah, too many,
Peter?
that's
Yeah, I'd never
just
consider
not a good deal.
I wanna be in control.
Gotta be in control.
And I tend to keep cars a longer time, and so it's just a financing vehicle, which is at a high interest rate or a high cost to pay for it. If the one part that would appeal to me is this issue of the battery, where the technology is a little uncertain, so you lease it for 3 or 4 years, knowing that you walk away with 0, because you don't own it at the time. But then you haven't, you're not stuck with a vehicle you can't sell. The technology shifts. Because one of the things
That was the selling point for a lease when
Yeah.
I was considering it.
yeah, and one of the things that the technology is moving so quickly, we don't really know what's,
Right.
if you buy a car, what it's going to be
So let
like
me-
in 5 years.
So let me get to the other piece of that, which is the used. So what is it about a used vehicle that's appealing?
Price.
Price point.
It's already
Right.
lost its value. for the
Already
most
lost
part.
the value, so it's not gonna lose any more.
Well,
Used
not
as
lose
much.
more,
Not
not
as
as much.
much.
Not as high a percentage.
Used
Not as high
EVs
percent.
right now are an incredible value.
Yeah. And sometimes with the used one, they've got a track record of a few years, so you can do some research, see what the weak points are, strong points are. You know more about them after a few years.
So what are the questions left in your mind about EVs? After all, especially we've been having all this conversation today, so some of you probably picked up some new information too. So
One of my
Phoenix,
questions is, at what point do you have to replace the battery?
the battery,
Yeah.
replacing the battery.
I mean, and is that ever gonna come down? Because it's pretty pricey. But I mean, at 20%, at 10%, at 50%, at what point should you replace the battery?
Okay.
I have one data point. My friend who bought a Tesla 5 years ago and turned it in for a new one. He had 265 miles of range when he bought it and 250 miles of range when he sold it after 5 years. That's my only data point.
How about no data points, but just what you want to know, so you get some data on it.
There is one other thing that I haven't asked, but when I was first talking about electrical cars several years ago, there was a question of what you did with the battery when the car was,
So
Done.
not just when you replace, but what do you do with it?
it's the recycling. We're all interested in the environment, and I know that initially some of the battery stuff was not a good recycle deal, and is this kind of a small version of nuclear power plants that when you're done using it, you've got a environmental problem to deal with. And I think my impression is that has improved, but I don't know the answer to that. So that's a question.
So battery, life, replacement, recycle, what are some other questions you still have about electric
Cost
vehicles?
of the replacement,
I'm sorry,
cost of the replacement.
oh, the cost, not when you replace it, also how much is it gonna
yeah.
cost?
I mean, I've read that the Leaf wants 15,000 to replace the battery. Well, that makes it no good deal.
Okay, others?
I question like how committed we are as a society for, developing the infrastructure for electric cars. Seems like we had it, like, and it's, we've got vehicles and we're really at this point where they might take off and we might get some traction, but there needs to be some public government support and push still there, and is it going to go away, and are we going to be stuck with this like vehicle that isn't have a future to it?
How deep is the commitment to the charging stations and charging expansion?
Because the first time they had the electric vehicle come out, the companies recalled them all, and they essentially crushed them. So, yeah, is that going to happen again?
Yeah.
I think it's too widespread now, don't you think, for that to happen?
We hope, but
Yeah.
with the corporations, I don't really give them a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
Well, there's I think it's now a law in California that says that no car company can sell a car in California unless they have electrics or hybrids in their line.
Is the,
And the Bolt, Chevrolet is losing $6,000 per Bolt just to get it in that state, or Oregon or Washington, as these states decide, okay, if you don't sell electric or hybrid, you can't sell a car in our state. So that's coming down the pike too.
They're
Force them to do it.
mostly doing that to meet the mileage standards.
Cafe standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
So anything else that you still
the
have questions
rebate,
about?
the rebate, is that still active, and
How
how
long
will it
is
be
the
active?
rebate?
Yeah.
Okay. Any others? So given you some of your concerns about sort of the future that you mentioned, when do you think, when could you imagine that the majority of new car sales in Oregon would be electric? How soon do you think that's going to be?
People love their trucks here.
People love their trucks here.
They love
They'll-
their
they'll
trucks and their SUVs.
Don't worry, they'll have electric trucks and SUVs in no
I
time.
think we need another round of spiked gasoline prices.
I agree.
To make that happen.
Yeah, spike.
We're all doing it and talking about this when the price of gas is probably as cheap as it ever has been in real dollars. And so it's because we're interested in environment and so on. And, there are these other cost benefits, but the bigger population, you need to get back to the $5 and $6 gallon gas, at which point then
What if
people.
that doesn't happen? Do you think it will happen otherwise?
I think it will once once you can take a trip.
Once you can take a
Once you
trip.
can take a real trip and not have to stop and recharge for 6 hours before you can
What's a
continue
real
on.
trip?
Which I know they're working on. It should be any
400 or 500 miles.
What's that?
400 or 500
400 or
miles.
500 miles
Yeah.
A
within
day's
like
drive.
10 minutes. If you can do that, if it's no more than stopping at the gas station and filling up like you do with a regular car, then I think it becomes way more available to a lot more
And
people.
if
feel
the
limited.
price is competitive.
Well, price, yeah. Price would make sense. But I'd say within 10 years would be,
So,
just from my guess.
10 years? Anybody go with longer?
I would hope within 10 years. I
10
really
years?
would. I'm trying to be optimistic.
Peter?
I like to go longer because I work in construction consulting and specifically green construction, and this is like asking when are most people going to own a zero energy home? And 10 years ago, I think people were way off on their assumptions. I'd have to say 15 or 20 years, and a lot depends upon government policies, the makeup of Congress, the president, and obviously climate change, and how quickly do people wake up to the real threat of climate change.
Tom? Phoenix? Any 10 years? More than 10 years?
10 years or more.
10 years or more?
Technology is always going to change and always going to improve. And yes, they're going to improve mileage. So I think it's fairly stable now, but of course it's going to improve. It's always going to change. Everything always does.
I think longer, even optimistically thinking that EVs will be able to charge 500 miles in 2 hours, and people will think that's good enough for me. I'll buy one. And then it'll be down to an hour, and then it'll be down to 30 minutes, and it'll come in waves. And I don't think that they're going to proceed that quickly.
So there's always going to be some reluctance.
Yeah, well, like
until it's perfect.
the charger, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 chargers took time to come out. The better batteries will take time to come out. The charging speeds will come down. It'll happen over, I think, more than 10 years.
I think if the rest of the industry can get to the point where Tesla is now, case in point, this friend of mine had a Tesla. He took a 13,000 mile trip across the United States in a Tesla. It cost him $18. And he had no trouble charging. But because they have the network and they know, the car knows where the next charging station is and how much range it needs to get there.
Yeah, but it also meant that he couldn't go some places because
Well, he carried it.
if you follow the line that they set, you're
Right.
fine. But
Right, but he carried a level 2 in his car on level 1, so in emergency he could get something.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
here's a question from the audience. The audience, we were talking about the possibility of a $2,500 rebate. And I think that we weren't taking, if we also took into account the $7,500 tax credit. So that gives you a total of $10,000. And I think that the upper limit people were talking about of, maybe $30,000 or $40,000. But that seemed like it was too much. Would that $10,000, if you got all that, a rebate and the tax credit?
Well, again, it depends on where the starting point is. So what's a Chevy Volt price before tax credits now? It's about 35 or 40?
They're running in the 30 to 40 range. And I
Yeah,
believe,
so that takes it
isn't
down
the
to-
new Tesla gonna be down in
The
that range?
new one's gonna be 35 to
So,
start.
So
okay,
then
so
it
we're
take,
talking
that
about,
now you're talking about taking the
Right.
price point down to 25 to 30, which then puts it in an area where
most
I'm
people-
interested, and
yeah.
I think most people are. When I looked at new vehicles, there are very few below 20, and so the 20 to 30 is a nice range, and there's lots of cars that are way above that.
okay, so how many people would find that, if you got that $10,000, these EVs that you've been talking about have what you want, would feel more likely to work for you?
Absolutely.
So in fact, the $2,500 with the tax credit does make a
Yeah,
difference.
it does make a difference for me, for sure.
Anybody else say it
Makes a
doesn't?
difference, but it won't push me into it.
Won't push you, because you still got the distance. Okay, anybody else?
Still depend on what I'm getting for it.
Yeah.
What would you want?
It depends if I'm gonna get that much of a rebate off of a car that's still only gonna go 150 miles, then it wouldn't matter to me. But if it came with a 400-mile range on a car, I would pay more. I would, if it was a $40,000 car, I'd pay $30,000 after the rebates for that kind of car.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's gotta have range.
And the range being
400
you said?
miles or so, 500 would be nice.
It's proportional to the price.
Of course, most cars only go 3 to 3.
Yeah, but it's a,
Yeah, but I can
it's
fill
a
'em up
function
in
of
2 or
how
3
long
minutes.
it takes to
It's
recharge.
a recharge.
If
okay.
it's,
Yeah, 'cause if you,
what Brad said is, if you can recharge in 10 to 15 minutes, then it's no big deal,
No big deal, okay.
except when you're camping.
Okay,
Tesla's
So-
got a solar option for that. So.
so what company, organization, person, in your experience, has been given you the most reliable information about E EVs?
This
The
Ford?
fourth test for me.
Oh, good, they'll want to hear that.
Yeah. I really
That's
think
where I
they're the
get most,
best.
got most of mine.
I'm sorry?
Forest is where I got most of mine.
Yeah, Peter?
Well, I'd say fourth, but I've also been on an Energy Star webinar for electric vehicle charging stations, which was credible, and it was only deeper in information because I didn't stay at Fourth Mobility that long. I chatted a little bit. I was delighted with the help I got. I was comfortable that I could follow up with them, and
So-
I am going to follow up with them.
So Energy Star also up there,
Yeah.
fourth, Energy Star, anybody else, anything else?
For me, my case, it was a friend who has a Tesla. He
A
talked about it all the
friend-
time and
friend with
what
a
it does
Tesla.
and
Okay, others?
Magazine auto reviews.
Auto reviews, okay. Others?
Consumer Reports helped me make my decision.
Okay, Consumer Reports. Anything else that we missed for reliable? good information. Okay. So I think we're done with audience questions, and we're coming up on 5:30 here. Just want to go over some of what we learned to talk today. We talked a lot about the showroom. I think you guys mostly told me, you guys and gals, mostly told me you had a good experience there. I mean, they certainly ended up that was a winner for where you got reliable information. There's a few things the showroom could still do, but you got a lot of your questions answered. You liked the touch hand one-on-one. You liked the fact that you could get there, though maybe the east side would be more accessible. Maybe better parking.
Better parking.
Well, it's the parking thing.
It's the parking thing, yeah. But some of you just walked in there, so some of you didn't even, know you were gonna be there. So there's things that you'd like more information on charging, more information on maintenance, more information on costs of charging. Those things were things that still sit there, plus that list of, comparison, how you can actually compare all these different types of vehicles, a website that really gives you that sort of
All in one
information.
spot.
All in one spot. Allows you to, touch that button that says compare these on all these features, okay? And you're interested in EVs, every single one of you. The environment's a key driver on that. And I think,
By the way, one thing that it would be really nice, and I said about the car show that electric and hybrid were kind of second-class citizens. It'd be nice to have an environmental car show where all these vehicles were there, and
Yeah, that's a good idea.
and you could really go and understand.
No SUVs, no pickups, just electric,
No muscle cars.
no muscle
no
cars.
muscle cars,
But
okay.
I will say, it's an important consideration, the green thing, but it's not a driving force for me.
Right,
Mainly, it's just the cost to operate.
cost to operate.
That's the main driving force.
So
Now,
yeah.
this is a nice feature. I'm interested in it,
Yeah.
but it's not a driving force.
Yeah, okay, good to know. So the things that you're still looking for is room in the car, room that you can carry people, room where you can carry luggage in particular, or stuff, and range that really meets your needs, and fast charging that makes up for any range issues that you might have. But anything I missed?
I would like to see, like you say, you feel like a second-class citizen, researching these kinds of cars. I was really excited driving the Bolt. I thought, I love this car, I want this car. I was really jazzed. I wish the companies that manufacturers were as excited about these cars as we are. You don't hear it from anywhere. You don't turn on, you see all these car ads on TV. I don't see a Bolt ad, and how nice the car is, and fun to drive, and the handability was really easy to handle, and there were just wonderful features. And why isn't Chevy doing that, or
Well,
any of these other companies?
It
Why
could
aren't
be
they
because they're losing $6,000 a car. Would you rather advertise a car where you lose $6,000 or when you can make $6,000?
Well, maybe, maybe if they sold enough of them, they could, they could start to tip that.
I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
any last comments? We're here at the end. Did I cover all the things? That was a good addition. Any other additions?
I like John's idea about the show with
The showroom.
electric and hybrid
Green
cars
showroom.
all together. That makes sense.
Right.
Great. Well, thank you so much for attending. I think, I presume the audience enjoyed it. We'll presume.
The applause is deafening.
And I encourage you to go back to the fourth anytime, drive another car. I think they've got 3 or 4 now, and they'll probably have more in the future.
What have they got,
Got a Bolt, they've got a Fit, got a Leaf. Yeah.
They got the Leaf is like a
What's it?
14 or 15.
What's it fit?
Honda?
Okay.
Yeah.
They're all pure
So
electrics.
Okay.
there's a guy.
I'm sorry?
They're all pure electrics, or are they hybrids?
They
too?
are all pure electrics, yes.